this is another from that workshop with the children, and their prompt was, I haven't always titled these poems because I love their prompts and because I've been busy. Their prompt was, it was the third day. It was the first day, and there was nobody there but the long, pale stripe of light that hemmed the firmament. It was the second day. What happened then? Did it rain all day on still waters? It was the third day, and the way I remember it, there were whales singing and booming down there and leaping a little way into the sky which had been created for them. I begin to get confused here. Were the trees next, or the birds who rest in them, or was it the clams and the mice, the little ones the birds hunt down? Or was it the majestic stag with leaves caught in his antlers, and then the birds hitching a ride on his spine? Or the platypus, or the asparagus, or the protozoa? Or maybe the mountains and the valleys, and rainwater crashing down them so fast it turned to salmon. And who else was there? Was anyone watching? What did they think of the icebergs coming and going, the river on fire, the catfish with little legs running like bats out of hell, the continents battering each other and splintering, and round winds the size of the moon roaming around the edge of everything, sanding and burnishing it all, dead and alive, till it shines. I'm not quite sure why I put in the river on fire, but you should know I come from Cleveland, or a small town south thereof. Obviously, evolution, with her all but infinite hoard of eggs, her egg necklaces, egg chains, egg nests, and petrified eggs, birds' eggs, frogs' eggs, spiders' eggs, and platypus eggs, Fabergé eggs and Easter eggs, deviled eggs and egg drop soup, her afternoon blue eggs and speckled fawn eggs, and black eggs spangled with lightning, and small sunrise-colored eggs, and eggs sunny side up, and eggs cocotte, hollowed ostrich eggs, and soft green turtle eggs, and alligator eggs, good eggs, and bad eggs, and geodes, deep in earth's belly, hauled out and cracked open to revelations of amethyst and tourmaline, and Gaia the earth, round as an egg, round as a basket. Evolution thought it was a good idea to put all her eggs in one basket, and so did I. I was born with all my eggs in one basket. An afternoon by the sea, or resurrection, was written in gratitude to some really nice women and men who I spent a long weekend with in a little town on the coast north of Beirut, about an hour last summer. They were really interesting people, and all of them have something to say in this poem. We lazed on ottomans above the azure, under blue pallor, gazing into the gauze that makes discreet the meeting of the sea's cracked plate and the sky's bowl, blurring their embrace. My hostess, risen in the doorway in her billowing dress, sea goddess green and barred with sky, feeling a memory resurface. I'm not quoting her. One day last year the water was not like this, but smooth and whole, a sheet of sapphire over the sea's round mouth, stilling its gasp, muffling its stilled sighs. The sea was flat that day and mute, and out of its depths the plastic swelled and rose to bobble like balloons and balls along the beachless shore for miles and miles. The diver whose faded t-shirt told us sharks love people told us sea cucumbers have learned to do just that, inflate themselves and rise to where the light is. Masters of escape, he said, and laughed. They also pile up in the pens like ladders, rolling off at the top to liberty, leaving their lower rungs behind. It must be hard on everyone below, amid the sludge and trash. Hard for the sea cukes, legless, armless, brainless, boneless, soft. Hard for inanimate garbage, harder still for oxygen and sharks, and hard for the diver who goes way down there to empathize, holding his breath, aware. This is called Before They Drained the Wetlands. Speaking of developers, I grew up in a town that was threatened and then wrecked by developers. But it was beautiful in its time. That was the best day, the day we found water running on its own, not from a hose. We stood in it ankle deep and called it Hercules Creek. An arched foot could split it into two little flows. It eddied some in the crook of a root's elbow, where a few stones lined up together. Dead leaves could gather, brown papering the bones of the creek. We added feathers and moss slime, making a home for a fish we might find next time. Last year or the year before, my assignment was to write an article about Renaissance spiders, and it was really, really fun to research. Spiders, representations of them go back so far that I think one of the very, very oldest representations of anything is deep in a cave system in the center of Australia, and it is a perfectly recognizable spider with its little abdomen and its 8 legs. They knew more at that time, which was, a good 10,000 years ago or so, than they did in the Renaissance when they thought that some spiders had 6 legs. Not. The definition of a bug is 6 legs. And bug is the term that the science type guys use. Arachne, who, was the first, she was a really good spinner, and she challenged Athena, the goddess of spinning and weaving and battle, so very competitive, to a contest, and she won. So Athena turned her into a spider. Arachne, thus the arachnid family. The spider in her billions of avatars, reincarnations, children, and great-grandchildren is close to immortality. She has impressed her personality on a species that weaves as she does and is also fond of sitting there. We have honored her for her patience in preserving and repairing the web and celebrated her dance in songs and fiddle tunes. We have worshipped her, and she has guarded our gardens. We named her for the greatest artist of the time before time. We have laughed to see her roughhousing with her children, and secretly admired her habit of eating her husbands. But something has changed in us, or the kaleidoscope has turned. She sits in her hammock, spinning silk from her loins and weaving gossamer shrouds that paralyze, imprison, kill. She terrifies us now. Black widow, hunting without stirring.